Hi friend, I just wanted to take a minute to invite you to our Lash Biz Babes Experience 2026. This is a one-day all online event happening on May 2nd, and our theme for the year is going all in. We are shaking things up and doing it differently than anyone ever has before. This is going to be an all online event as usual, but it's going to be 100% a curated journey throughout your day as we guide you through the mindset, strategy, and passion needed to go all in on your business to make it your best year in business yet. All lash artists, estheticians, and beauty professionals are invited to join us. There will be guided sessions, interactive workshops, a panel discussion, and big giveaways happening throughout that whole day. And tickets are on sale now for only $199. Payment plans are available. Let's go all in on our businesses for 2026 together. All the details and the link for tickets are down in the show notes below. I would love to have you join us online in May. Welcome to Lash Biz Babes, the podcast for solo beauty business owners who want to build a full clientele and create a business and life that they truly love. My name is Erica. I'm your host. I'm a lash artist turned beauty business coach, lash educator, and social media manager for salons and beauty businesses. I'm so happy that you're here. Let's go ahead and jump into today's episode. Welcome to this week's episode of Lash Biz Babes. I'm happy, so happy to be back with you guys. I first and very foremost feel like I owe a little update to you for the lack of episodes this year. I did post about this on Instagram, so if you read that post, just disregard, fast forward about 10 seconds. But first and foremost, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being patient with me this year. It's really been a big roller coaster of a year so far, and we've just had a lot going on. I've been running my business out of my car office in my driveway of a trailer for the last year and a half while we waited on our house to be built. And, I have a lot of things to be grateful for throughout the last year, the last couple years really, and, our house being included in that. But in the same breath, it has really been hard. I'm not going to get into all the details. If you've listened to episodes from the last year or so, you've probably heard some of the things that have been going on. But all of this has really just contributed to the podcast not getting as much attention as usual, and especially with just going through a lot of grief this year with losing grandparents and losing family members that I was close with. And so with that, there is a light at the end of the tunnel here. So now that we're settling into our new house, I'm buckling down, getting my shit together for the podcast again, and I've officially hired a podcast editor and manager, which I am so pumped for. All I have to do is record the episodes, upload it for them, and they do all the rest of the work. If you didn't know this, podcasting is actually literally could be a full-time job, honestly. There's a lot that goes into the back end, and if you're doing it all yourself, you record, you edit, you manage, strategize, there's so many different things that go into putting on a show. And I've been doing all of that by myself for the last 2.5 years, and I'm so thankful to be at the point where I am able to outsource those pieces now so that I can really focus on bringing you just really good episodes. So in that light, we are having weekly episodes coming out for you now every Tuesday. So this started last week on September 3rd, but every Tuesday, mark your calendar, get ready for it. Make sure you're subscribed to the show because there will be a new episode every single week moving forward. So if you have any topics you'd like to hear more about, if you have any guest recommendations, maybe if you want to come on the show or anything in between, please reach out because this show genuinely is for you. I literally just do it to help and serve our community here. So please let your voice be heard. Let me know how I can best help you as we head into the end of the year and into next year. You can just DM me on Instagram at @XOEricaShram, and that link will be in the show notes as well. I'm really excited to keep this ball rolling and to get consistent with the podcast again. And I just really very much appreciate you being here. So I was really thinking about what topics could benefit everyone right now. What are people wanting to hear about? What have been some hot topics? What have been questions that I've been being asked a lot? And one of the things that came to mind first, well, honestly, I got asked it in a DM today, and I got asked it in a message a few weeks ago. and kind of just get asked it every now and again. So I thought maybe it would be a good topic to bring to the show because it has been like a topic of conversation in the industry lately, and that is shifting your business online, offering digital products, online courses, coaching, marketing, like shifting into that space in your business. And I'm not ever going to pretend to be an expert on making that transition. Obviously, I have done it myself, so I do have experience with that. I have learned a lot from that. So I'm just simply going to share my experience, my lessons that I've learned that I am still learning, and what I would do differently if I could go back and do it again, shifting from full-time lashing into having an online business, being an educator, that kind of thing. So a little backstory, if you don't know this, I started lashing in 2014, and then at the end of 2021, I closed my lash studio to go full-time into educating, coaching, online courses, just basically the online world of the industry and the education world of the industry. And with that came a lot of challenges and a lot of new experiences, a lot of opportunities, and a lot of growth, that's for sure. So I thought I'd just share, just candidly share some of that experience with you. And like I said, some of the lessons that I learned, some of the things that I would do differently. So, in case you are interested in going online at some point, if you want to get into quote unquote passive income, if you want to start offering digital products, eventually maybe stop lashing so much and have those digital offerings that maybe you just have a little bit more insight into realistically what that is like as a solo beauty business owner. Because, like I just said a hot minute ago about the podcast, I've been doing this all by myself for nearly 3 years. This is the first year that I've outsourced pieces of my actual business to other people to help me with. Previous to that, I have done everything on my own. Pros and cons to that. Pros and cons to that for sure. But with that, the first thing that I would really say about going online in our industry, you've been lashing, you've been doing aesthetics, you've been doing services, you're busy, you're burnt out, you're tired of taking back-to-back clients. You want to have some revenue coming in that's not just from services. Maybe you eventually want to completely retire from lashing and move into the online world and have more flexibility and more potential for your business, growth potential for your business. The first thing that I want you to know about that is that while it is the same industry, if you go into like educating on lashes or, sharing things like that, it's the same industry. It's basically a new business. You are starting from the ground up all over again, and you're a newbie in a sense. Like you are at the bottom, for lack of better words, or like I don't know how else to phrase that. But you are basically starting all over again, and it can be very difficult at first. I did some online things part-time for about a year, a little over a year, before I closed my studio down completely and went full-time into the online world. And I will say I did have my husband's support in that, which was great as far as like finances go, because I didn't have the stress of I need to, if I'm gonna fail and like lose everything. My husband had his job, so that was something that I had to fall back on. So I do feel like that's something I do need to share, just like transparency wise, because not everyone is in that position where they can go and stop lashing completely and go into this and have an up and down experience or a hard time creating consistency in their income again. And that's the experience that I had, was that it was really hard to create consistency in my income to begin with. So that leads me into my first point, which is that I really would recommend focusing on consistency in your income versus chasing sales. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit more, but I want you to have like a good business structure to where you have repeat sales, or maybe students or clients who are on like monthly contracts or payment plans, because it's really hard to chase new sales every single month and to depend on having new sales every single month. While obviously that is the goal, it can be very difficult and it can lead to a lot of burnout if you're like, okay, I need 100 sales this month. I need even 30 to 50 sales, like depending on, how big of an audience you have and things. So, really would focus on building up monthly recurring revenue versus just chasing the next sale. And with that leads me into, you need a signature offer or a signature course that is high ticket. Low cost things, mid range cost things are really great, but you can't depend on selling those at a high volume consistently to hit your goals. So I feel like that was one of my mistakes initially, was that I had this limiting belief that no one wants to pay me. No one wants to pay me high dollar amounts. No one wants to pay me that much money to learn from me. I had that limiting belief for a very long time and it held me back for quite a while. But because of that, I was scared to have offers, like whether it was coaching offers or courses or trainings that were a high ticket offer, as far as like, and I would say high ticket as in like $1,000 or more. I had a lot of things that were lower cost, which is still great. It's part of having an offer suite. But if you have, for instance, just like low cost ebooks, or even just like a mid range cost online course, maybe in the like one to $500 range. I'm saying this kindly as I can. It's going to be very difficult to hit the income goal that you have for yourself, because you see all of these reels and things that are like, you can make $2,000 a day, you can make $20,000 months, $50,000 months, $30,000 months. And like, absolutely, you can. That's definitely a possibility for you. Starting right out the gate, it's probably not going to happen. And it's definitely not going to happen with only having low ticket or mid range priced offers or courses. You have to have that higher ticket offer, that higher ticket training, that higher ticket coaching program, whatever it is that you want to offer, to be able to hit those higher income goals and to be able to do that consistently. And especially if you can get students who are on like a payment plan or on a monthly contract where they're paying you every single month for something. See, that's one of the nice things about Lashes, is that, they're coming back every 2 to 3 weeks and it creates that consistency in your income. That's the same thing if you want to have a sustainable online business, because otherwise you are chasing those sales constantly. And for me, it resulted in feeling like I had to show up every single day. I had to post every single day. I couldn't take a day off of Instagram. And honestly, it was the point where it was like not even just like a limiting belief, like it just was like that I had business expenses to pay, I had bills to pay. And so I had to show up and work towards those sales every single day, because otherwise it was stressful. It was like, how am I paying this bill, right? How am I paying for this business expense? Because there still was like a minimum amount that I needed to make to break even to pay for expenses. And that got really stressful trying to only sell low ticket items, because people can make you think like, oh, you can just create an ebook on ChatGPT and then sell that, and then you're like, "Oh my gosh, yeah," and you make your first few sales at like, I don't know, $8 to $12 or something like that, $8 to $20 or whatever it is, even like the, $99 or something. And you're so excited about that, but then it's like, "Oh my gosh, I have to sell 50 of these to make $1,000. I have to sell 100 of these to even, break 2K or whatever, depending on where your pricing is at." And being able to hit those higher sales goals means that you have to have a very large, warm audience, which is one of the struggles when you are newer to the online world, because you're probably going to be teaching or wanting to attract a different audience than you have been previously. So that brings me into my next point. Let's talk about your audience with that, right? Because if you've been building a lash business or a service-based business before, you were trying to attract local potential clients for services. And your following on Instagram is very likely local potential clients, right? Or friends or family who are supporting you, or that type of audience. And now, if you're wanting to shift into the online world, you're wanting to offer trainings and coaching and these different things, it's a different audience. And especially if you're going into the online world where it doesn't have to necessarily be local people, it's a lot different of an audience. And then you're like trying to sell these things and you're like, why is it not selling? Well, you don't have the right audience now. You shifted your page into something new. Now you need to work on not just growing your audience, but now nurturing them as well. It's a whole strategy. There's a lot going on there. But with that, you kind of have to think about, okay, so if I'm going to be shifting into teaching other lash artists, like sharing my lash artist knowledge, right? So if you have potential clients or lash clients on your page, they're not going to be buying that type of course from you, that type of training from you, right? So then it is like, okay, do I create a separate page? And so for me, when I created a separate page, I freaking hated running multiple Instagram pages, which is hilarious considering how many Instagram pages I now run for different people. But for myself, at that time, it was really hard to have the capacity to run a lash Instagram page for the studio that I was actively trying to grow with other lash artists working with me, and then also a separate page for like trainings and coaching and different things. But then it's also really confusing for people if you have these two very different audiences that you're trying to attract and you're running it all through one page. It's not a bad thing to do. It's you kind of get to decide how you want to go about that. But typically, I do recommend if you are going to have a separate audience, a different demographic, that it can be better to start a new page for that. The only thing I would say about that is that if you are wanting to teach like local lash trainings in person, that is when it can be beneficial to keep the page you already have that has local potential clients and your local clients on it, because it has a big audience of local people already, and those people could potentially take a training from you, right? So that could be something what, if you're just doing local trainings or offering something to your local area still, it could still be beneficial to keep the same page because it is a similar audience, it is a similar demographic. But this is something you have to think about because if you need to hit these higher sales goals, like I was talking about a minute ago, then you need that audience. So that's where you see a lot of these lash artists and reels that are sharing about making $2,000 in a day or $30,000 months off of digital marketing. They have bigger audiences. They already have, a lot of them have like product lines and different things, right? So they're bringing in this digital marketing piece. They're selling this MRR course, not monthly recurring revenue. I almost said that, but I can't even remember the name of it off the top of my head. Master resale rights, those master resale rights courses, right? So they're bringing that in as a line of revenue, which is great for them. I'm so happy for them about that. But the thing about it is that they already have a warm audience of lash artists who are wanting to learn that thing. Their audience already knows them. They already like them. They already trust them or have some level of trust. Maybe even they already buy from them anyway, whether that's products or trainings that they've taken from them before. So then that's going to lead them into taking this next course from them, right? Or purchasing this next thing from them. And so that's why they're hitting these big months pretty quickly with this, is because they already have the audience for it. And not just an audience for it, they already have an audience that's warmed up to it. That's a warm audience, a hot audience, right? If you are new to being in the education space, to being in the digital marketing space, you have to build up that audience and warm them up and nurture them before they're going to buy a course from you. It's just part of shifting online. And I learned that the hard way, personally. But it's just part of what you have to do. And I see people on like threads and I almost said Twitter, but I didn't mean that. But like on threads and Instagram and TikTok, who are talking about, digital marketing is where it's at. I want to quit my lash business to go full time with it. And honestly, I made a thread about this, an Instagram post as well about this recently. But just full honesty is that fully quitting your lash business to go into digital marketing is probably not the best idea until you've built long-term consistency into your revenue with it, especially if you're only reselling the same course as everyone else through the master resale rights. Because without that high ticket offer like we were talking about, and or sales on monthly payment plans where they're paying you every month, right? Or even contracts, monthly contracts where they're paying you every single month. And you do have to keep in mind that with payment plans, there will be people who do default on that. Sometimes it does happen, but without a high ticket offer or those sales on a monthly payment plan or a monthly contract, you end up needing that high amount of new sales every month. That's what we were just talking about, which means you're going to be selling your ass off nonstop, and burnout is honestly inevitable there. It is not sustainable to have to sell or launch something or constantly be on the ball trying to make sales day in and day out. Like, obviously, we want to show up for our business consistently. But if you are like in that big need space where you're like, I need to make these sales, I need to show up, and it's stressing you out because you have bills to pay and the deadline is coming up and the due date is coming up and you don't have the money for it, then what? Because I found myself in that spot. I'm just being fully transparent here because I want you to know the reality of what that can look like and why it's not the best idea until you do have that long-term consistency built into your revenue with it. So if you don't have an offer suite, if you don't have a plan for creating monthly recurring revenue, which is the MRR that I'm more familiar with, or if you don't have a warm or big enough audience to sell to at a high volume regularly, I just think it's worth reconsidering going into digital marketing or going into the online space full time until you kind of have more of those things in place. Because although I'd been doing it part time for a little over a year, I didn't have all of these pieces in place. And like I was saying, it just made it really stressful for a while and it was really hard. And so I'm not knocking going into the online space completely. I'm not knocking master resale rates completely. Please don't take this as me talking shit about it because it can be a really great way to get into that online space and to make passive income. And I say that as like in quotes because I still feel like it is a lot of work on the back end, especially when you are doing it full time. And it's not necessarily passive in my opinion. But I'm not knocking it completely. You do you, and I will cheer you on completely. I've just been doing this long enough now that I want you to see the full picture of what a sustainable and scalable business model looks like for this specifically because it's like I was saying, it's really stressful otherwise, and it's possible to do, but you just need to build your foundation right first. So that's why I kind of wanted to share some of these things with you. I've mentioned offer suite a couple different times. Now, there's a lot that can go into this that I'm not going to be able to just explain on one podcast episode, but with an offer suite, you basically have different tiers of offers or courses. So, just to give an easy example of this, say you basically need low ticket items, mid-range, like mid-ticket, right? And then high ticket offers or a high ticket offer. So with that, maybe your low ticket stuff you have like a low ticket ebook or guide, something that's like just an easy grab for people, a no-brainer type of grab. Like for example, I have like a policies ebook. I can't remember the exact name of it off the top of my head because I haven't sold it in a while, honestly. Basically goes through, setting up your policies for your lash business. And I think I sold that for like $8. So that would be an example of a low ticket offer. Now, mid-ticket, mid-range, I would consider this anything from like, I don't know, like 100 to like $600-ish. Somewhere that's like mid-range cost-wise. And so this could be something like maybe just like a mini online course or just like a more bite-sized course. Maybe it's like a mid-range like group coaching program or like mentoring lash artists, like maybe it's like a one-on-one call with them or like they come shadow you for a day. Just something that's a little more in that mid-range cost area. And then that high ticket one, that's going to be your signature offer, right? Whether that is an online course or a high ticket group coaching program or one-on-one coaching with someone. Or like for myself, my high ticket items now are our bigger packages for social media management, right? So our largest package runs at a $1,111 per month. We offer things higher than that as well, but it just depends on like what's being included and how many platforms and so on and so forth. But like as far as our put together packages, like if I send you out that sheet, that's going to be the most expensive one. So that would be an example of like what our high ticket offer is. So like for example, this could be maybe you have an online course with like a lash training, right? You took your lash training online, that could be your high ticket offer. So you can plan this out to where you're like, okay, so I'm going to sell this, my goal is to sell like, I don't know, 5 of the high ticket offer this month, right? And then, I want to sell 2 of them with pay in full. So they pay you in full right up front, right? And then I want to sell 3 of them on a payment plan. Okay. So if you sell, let's say it was just, well, let's do easy math, $1,000, right? You sell 2 of them in full, so you made $2,000. You put 2 of them on payment plans where or 3 of them on payment plans where they're paying you $500 a month for 2 months, right? So then you just made 2,000 in pay in full and then 1,500 in payment plans that month. But now because you sold 3 on that payment plan, you're making 1,500 a month for the duration of that payment plan, right? And so that's where you can start building on things where you're like, okay, now the next month I'm going to sell this many pay in full and this many on a payment plan, and you start building on, okay, now each month I have this amount coming in before that month even rolls around. That you're going to make a minimum of this amount, right? And so that's where your monthly recurring revenue comes in. And then you can say, okay, I'm going to sell these lower ticket ones, I'm going to sell these mid-range ones. You have this offer suite that kind of works really well. And the other goal with this is that, some people will just straight up buy your high ticket thing right off the bat. But some people will start with like your lower ticket and kind of work their way through your offer suite, right? That is the idea with that, is that they have a progression. They can keep buying from you, they can keep training with you, they can keep getting mentorship, coaching, services from you, whatever that looks like, because there's a lot of different things that you can offer in the online space, but they become like a repeat student of yours, kind of like having loyal lash clients who are coming back to you again and again. You have an offer suite that's built out to help them through the journey and the progression of what you're helping them with. Like, how do I phrase this? So they basically become a repeat student of yours. So an offer suite, then that's something that is necessary, in my opinion, unless you're selling like a lot of just high ticket things on repeat, then maybe you don't need those lower ticket ones at all. But it really just depends on what you want to do and what you want to teach and what you want to offer. And like, is it online courses? Is it coaching? Is it trainings? Is it mentorship? Is it services? Like, there's a lot of different things that you can do. The other thing that I would say I would have done differently is that I took some coaching and like mentoring, and had that as I made that transition into the online space. And my biggest thing that I would say from that is like, don't overextend your finances in hopes that that investment is going to make you money right up front. And that, oh, I'm going to invest in this course that I really can't afford, so that, like, I don't know, invest in this course that's going to help me make an online course. So then I can sell a bunch of that online course and make my investment back right away. It's probably not going to happen right away like that. And if you're overextending your finances up front, it's going to make it really stressful for you. Yes, you're going to have to take risks and invest in yourself. That's just anywhere in business, you'll have to do that. It's just part of it. But no, it doesn't have to be so much that you're stressed out and in debt over it and like, okay, how am I going to make the payment on this? And just having a hard time with that. So that's something I would say, like, don't overextend your finances. Try and be smart about it. Try and find continuing education that makes sense for where you're at, from someone who's walked in your shoes before, walked in the shoes you want to walk in, who's done what you want to do before. Seems like a no-brainer, but I feel like I need to say that. With that, make sure you're teaching things that you've mastered. So when you're looking to go online, okay, what have I done really well that I can teach other people? Whether that's building your clientele or maybe you have like a specific fanning technique that you do that you're really good at, that you can teach others, or you can even niche it down into like mini topics, right? Like customer service or specific anime lashing, like specific lash styles. specific lash maps. There's a lot of ebooks and things out there like that now. But you really want to think about, what have you mastered? What are you really good at? Because I find when you teach what you're really good at, it leads to less imposter syndrome, less of like, oh my gosh, do I even know what I'm talking about, right? Plus, the root of imposter syndrome is feeling like someone's gonna find you out, that they're gonna tell everyone that you're wrong and that you're gonna be this big imposter, right? No one can tell you that you're wrong about your lived experiences. So if you're teaching from the heart on topics and things that you have experienced and you know for a fact and that you are really good at, you're not going to run into that. But with that, you only have to be 10 steps ahead of who you want to help in your new audience, right? And I think that that's really important to focus on your new audience, because it's going to be a little hard when you're like, oh my gosh, what does this person think about me? Oh my gosh, how could I ever think I could be in the same ranks as this so and so educator that you've looked up to for a really long time? Or like this podcaster or this influencer in the lash industry, or, whoever it is, right? We all look up to different people in the industry. And it's kind of like, oh, how could I ever, be in the same ranks as them, or like, be as good as them, or who do I think I am to want to teach and like share my knowledge and whatever else it is. But really think about your audience, because if your audience is 10 steps or more behind you, you've walked in those shoes that they want to walk in before. You are who they're going to want to learn from, right? So there's a lot of value in that. And I think it's really important to focus on your audience and not to worry about what other people might say, what other people might think, whatever else it is. Like, you don't have to fit in with the crowd in the industry. You don't have to fit in with the popular educators. You don't have to fit in with the influencers or the podcasters or whatever it is. Their opinions don't matter, really. It's truly about your new audience and how you're going to be able to help them and make it the best experience for them, right? I think the last thing I would say is that if you are brand new to like teaching or educating, maybe doing lash trainings or coaching or whatever it is, I would really encourage you to do some like in-person trainings first, or some one-on-one coaching first with people, and kind of get your framework down. Because that kind of helps you see, where do people run into issues at, where are they struggling, especially with lash trainings. You can see what questions are you being asked, like if you could explain things in a better way, what issues are they having, what problems, like with, oh, they're struggling with this part of fanning, maybe I can explain this in a different way. Or, oh my gosh, this person's more of a visual learner versus like a hands-on learner, right? Like, there's different learning types. So I think it gives you really valuable experience to teach people in person first, or to work with someone one-on-one first, to be able to figure out, okay, this is my framework for how I help people. This is how I do things. And then that gives you a really good basis of like, okay, now I'm going to take this online, right? So say you teach 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 25 lash trainings, and now you're like, okay, I want to take this online now and do an online course. Now you have all of that experience from teaching those lash trainings, and the questions that they asked you, and the problems they ran into, and the things that you had to give extra support on, and the things and lessons that you learned from that. Because your first lash training that you teach is not going to be your best. It could feel really good and it can go really well and they can be successful, but you're going to learn a lot from that you teach differently and better the next time, and then even better the next time, and differently and better the next time after that. So it's really beneficial to have that experience up front and then take that online, where you're not necessarily going to be working like one-on-one with them. And that way you can be kind of addressing those main questions or issues that you saw people run into, explaining things in a better way. It just kind of gives you that base experience that I think is really valuable when you're creating it into an online course. Because obviously we want our students to be successful, so that just kind of helps set you up to be successful with teaching them successfully. So, yeah, I'm sure there's more I could probably think of, but those were like the main points that I kind of jotted down before I started recording, just because I wanted to have a couple notes with that and just not miss anything that I knew I wanted to say. But yeah, I would say those are the main lessons I learned, the main things I would change, the main advice and recommendations I would have from that. So if you're like, okay, so game plan, what am I going to do for this, right? When you think about, okay, what have you mastered? What are you really good at? What can you help people walk through that you have done before? Do you have the right audience for that? Do you need to work on building your audience and nurturing your audience and building that know, like, trust with them. Because that's going to be a very important part is, okay, do I have the right audience? How am I going to shift my content to attract my new audience? Am I going to make a new page? Kind of figuring all of that out. And then I would really think about your offer suite, what your offer is going to be. Maybe you don't have more than one up front. So if you're only going to do one up front, I would really work on your high ticket one initially. Because it's really easy to think, okay, I'm just going to make a quick ebook and then sell that and then start making a lot of money off of that and selling it all over the place. And it's just not as easy to sell at a high volume if you don't have that audience in place already. Or if you don't have that visibility, if you don't quite know what you're doing with that yet, then you're pouring all your time and energy into that lower ticket offer. And anyway, it can just create that burnout cycle for sure. So I would focus on your more signature offer, your higher ticket offer. What are you going to have for that? Because that's going to be the thing you need the most, because then you can focus on those consistent sales with it. You can build up that monthly recurring revenue and not just always be chasing the next sale. Because, like, even if you only sold one of your course at $1,000 versus 20 of a $10 course, like, you're still going to make a lot more money that way. So you don't need as many sales with the higher ticket offers and trainings and courses as well. I would kind of leave it at that up front, figure out what you want to teach, figure out what your audience needs to be for it, figure out what is your offer going to be. Work on that high ticket offer first, focus on that monthly recurring revenue. How can I set up this business model so that I'm making revenue consistently each month and go from there? That seems like very broad in general because there's a lot that can go into that, but I think that would give you a good starting point to be successful going online. If you ever have questions on it, I'm an open book. Feel free to message me on Instagram at XOEricaStram. I've been online for nearly 3 years now, and it's been the best decision that I've ever made. I'm so happy that I did it, and it was a lot of hard work up front, but I think it's really starting to pay off and been such a blessing for myself and for my family, and I'm thankful for, like, the flexibility that it's brought me and my families. Because at this point, I can volunteer with PTO, I take my kids to school, we go do fun things, and we can go on vacation, we can go on trips, and it's very, like, I can do what I wouldn't say whatever I want because I still have deadlines and requirements and work to be done, but I can do that whenever I want, wherever I want, and I love that, and it is exactly what I've always wanted as a mom. 'Cause, like, I always knew one day I wanted something that was flexible so I could be with my kids as much as I wanted to be. And, I'm really thankful I made that jump when I did, and because it was scary, like, letting go of that consistent income with my lash clientele. I'm thankful I did it when I did. I made a lot of mistakes up front, I feel like, looking back. And I stumbled quite a bit, but I also had a lot of success up front as well. I taught a lot of students in that first year and made a lot of really great connections in the industry, had a lot of really great opportunities, and I learned a lot from it that was valuable for me moving forward to help me get to the point that I'm at today. So I don't regret the things and decisions that I made. I think there's things I could have done better, but all in all, you learn from those things and you grow from them, and it molds you into the business owner that you are meant to be. And I honestly believe a lot of the challenges and hardships that we face as business owners do prepare us to become the version of ourselves that we want to be, right? Because a lot of those experiences have prepared me for dealing with difficult clients or knowing how to scale my business or knowing that, okay, you need to focus on creating consistent income, right? You learn from it, you grow from it. It's not a bad thing at all. It just can be a little hard. I'm an open book with this stuff. If you guys ever have questions, feel free to reach out. You just see all those reels, all the TikToks about people just making buku bucks online, and it's possible and it's really amazing for those who are doing that. But I think it almost creates a very unrealistic expectation for those who are newer to it and who haven't been doing that yet or who aren't in that educational space yet where they don't have that big warm audience yet, not even necessarily a big audience, but like a warm audience with the right people in it, like maybe lash artists versus like potential clients to get lashes done. There's a lot more that goes into this than most lash artists realize. I don't want you to get an unrealistic idea of what that's like and think that it is just all rosy and rainbows and you just make thousands of dollars a day and life is great and it's not hard and it's all passive. And that's just my experience with it. I've had to put a lot of work into my online business and it was never just like an overnight success like some people might make you feel like theirs was. I think that's all the thoughts that I have on it. I think that covers it all. So I hope that this was a good listen for you. I hope that you're able to learn something from it. And if you are someone who's looking to go online, like I am so excited for you because it does open up a whole new world of possibilities to not be tied down to an every 2 to 3 week schedule with lash clients. And I feel like there's a lot of income potential and opportunity potential. That's kind of what I hit with my lash business was like, I don't want to take on any more clients. I don't want to work any more than I already am. I want to be home with my kids more. And I just kind of felt like I had maxed myself out for how far I could grow my lash business with the time and the energy that I had available. So that was a big part of why I shifted was to continue to grow my business in a new way that would have a lot more room for growth in the time and energy that I did have available to be a business owner. Because for me, my first priority is still being a mom. That's why I'm recording at 10:30 at night. It's an amazing business model in my opinion. I love that it is something that is possible for us moms now, or just, us lash artists now, to be able to have an online business and work from wherever you want and like not have to have a traditional job. I love that. I appreciate you being here today. Thank you so much for listening. If we aren't already friends over on Instagram, definitely make sure to come follow me over there at XO Erica Schramm. And if you are struggling with growing your beauty business online, we do have social media management openings available currently. So please send me a message on Instagram and we can talk more details about it. We do Facebook, Instagram, Google My Business, and TikTok management for salons and beauty businesses. We have clients anywhere from like Florida to Utah to Canada, and we would really love to help you out if that's something that you're like, I want to outsource this because it makes life so much better just having someone else do those things for you sometimes. I've learned that this year too. So send me a message on Instagram if you are interested. Other than that, I will see you guys next week for another episode. Thank you so much for being here and listening today.